4D design on the top, and we've got these beautiful, sexy, Ryobi varnished legs. So like, comment, and subscribe if you like the design here, and let's get straight into the video. Welcome to the video. Today we're going to be making these two stools. And this video is going to consist of two parts. The first part is going to be making the design, making the top, and then obviously putting it all together and making the stool. To start off making the design, we're going to need 10 pine squares, which I've actually already cut from the previous project. I'm going to cut these Ryobi pieces into 40 by 20 rectangle. I'm going to do the same with this pine here. I'm going to cut 10 rectangles, 40 by 20. So here we are, these Ryobi pieces. I'm going to cut them up 40 by 20. Let's go.
So for the end grain of these Ryobi pieces to be 40 by 20, I set the table fence at a certain height and slowly rip through each of the 10 pieces. And now that I had all 10 pieces cut 40 by 20, I was ready to move on to the next stage.
Okay, so now that we've got our 10 little cubes and our 10 little rectangles, it's time to make 10 more rectangles out of a different type of wood. I'm gonna use this huge ass piece to cut the 10 other rectangles. Let's go.
Now obviously this massive slab was way too big, so I cut it at 550 millimeters in length.
I don't want to repeat myself here, but I just want to make sure you guys understand. This massive slab, I'm going to turn it into 10 pieces of these, but obviously with this wood. Let's get into it.
Ripping one side off with the table saw, then setting the table fence 20 millimeters away from the blade and ripping through it 10 times.
Okay, so now I've got 10 of these, but the problem is they're too long. So we're going to cut these 10 pieces down to the right width.
After the width cuts were done, I was ready to move on to the 45-degree cut parts.
Okay, finally we've got 10, 10, and 10 of each of the pieces. Now this wood here, we're going to leave as is. This wood here, I'm going to cut a 45-degree angle on each of these pieces and a 45-degree angle on each of these pieces. I'm going to take 1, 2, 3, each design. 1, 2, 3. Show you an example of why I'm doing this.
So I set the table blade at 45 degrees and ripped through it, cutting it 45 degrees in length.
So now we got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to take one of each of the pieces and basically just glue them all together.
So now we've got 1, 2, 3 of the end grains done. It's time to do the other 7.
Okay, time to do the same thing as before.
Now each time I glue 3 of the pieces together, I use 8 or 9 clamps because I find it's the best way and ensures accuracy throughout the whole strip.
Alright, so while the fourth one is gluing, I thought it'd be fun to cut these two perfectly square.
So to cut them perfectly square, I basically just flip them over on all 4 sides and run through the table saw.
Now you can see these two have a perfect end grain. And it's time for these two to move into the next step, but we've still got the other 8 pieces we've got to get looking like this.
So I skipped over a lot of these because it's the same process over and over again. And eventually that day I ended up gluing 5 out of the 10 pieces.
So now we've got 5 end grain pieces, gluing up, 5 to go. While waiting for the glue ups, because I'm out of clamps, we're going to be cutting legs. Now luckily for me, these legs are already sort of cut up in the correct dimensions. All I've got to do is cut the heights and cut the angles. Our one leg here, and we've got our drop saw set to 10 degrees angle. We're going to cut a 10 degrees and 10 degrees on both sides, and we're going to do that with all 8 legs.
So you can see me do it pretty fast here because of one side I didn't have to measure how long it had to be, but then when I cut the other side on the 10 degrees angle, I had to measure the exact length of the leg. Okay, so now we've got the 8 legs cut up nice and perfect. We're gonna make these 210 millimeters. So these were the members that were gonna join the legs together, but also here you can see me cutting 4 other members that would join the legs together also. But I forgot to mention that because the camera shut off. So as you can see here, we've got our 8 legs, our 4 members, and our 4 other members. You might be asking me, how the hell do we actually put the legs together? Now, I'm gonna show you exactly how I do it. You get one leg, put it like that. The other leg, put it like that. Get this here. And there you go. That's exactly how you glue that one up and glue this one up. Alright, so now that we've got these glued up, we're gonna put one screw in there, one screw on the other side. I'll show you that stuff. So first we need to drill a little hole so the wood doesn't crack. So I drill a little hole. Then I drill this massive thing so the screw head doesn't show. Then I grab and drill the screw in. So the camera shut off there, but we got 2 perfectly ready, screwed up and glued up. So we've glued up a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 end grains, and now it's time to glue all these 5 up. Gluing going on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to prepare the 4th wood, this wood here, this depth, with the same height as these bad boys here. So I did the same thing I did at the start of the video. Set the table fence to a certain height and rip through it like 1,000 times. 10 times to be precise. 10 of these pieces and 4 of these. You'll see later what we use them for in the design. We're going to go in between each of the end grain pieces and under it. So, getting it all glued up, let's get ready to move on to the next step. Look how disgusting this is. We want to make them look nice like that. Finally, to start making some progress, what we're going to do is we're going to glue all of these up together. It looks a bit ugly now, but the end grain is going to look like that. It's all glued up. While we're waiting for the glue to dry, I decided to glue the legs together. So that was one of the legs glued together, and now here I am doing the second pair of legs together. Look how ugly that is. We're going to smooth it out, make it nice. So we went from something like this to this. Okay, so now we're going to put this onto the base and we're going to get ready to chop up the design. And there we are, glued them all together. So now we've got the base glued up onto the design, and glued up the second pair of legs. Okay, so I'm going to clean this up. This looks yuck. Clean up the edges in order to be plainer. That's better. Look at that. Look at that design with a nice flat top. This is the exciting part. We've got this block here, and now we're going to get ready to cut horizontally through the design to actually get the design going. I'm going to cut it at a 36-degree height, and let's turn this into a cool ass seat. Now this is always the most nerve-wracking, but the best part of making the seat is just cutting through design, and I finally get to see what the design looks like. So I had to repeat the same process with the smaller board I made to extend the length of the design because the length of the design wasn't long enough. Then I had to glue up each of these pieces like this, one by one. So we need a timber piece, 4 timber pieces going from there to there, there to there, there to there, there to there. So I'm gonna chop it up on the table saw right now. So now we're just gonna glue them up one by one, just like this. Okay, so now we're gonna cut a curve in the piece. We want a curve in the seat, so we're gonna cut a curve right here. So here we are. We're gonna cut a curve in this piece here. See how we go. I'm cutting a curve in the piece. How many times did I say that? Like 45? Anyways, here I am, once again, cutting a curve in the seat. Not only glue is just gonna help that, so we're gonna need to put some screws in. Let's get into it. After I put the last leg screws in, I was ready to glue up the top curved seat. Look at that. I reckon those legs look amazing. All right, so this is all done up. I'm going to sand it because look how ugly that looks there. And I sand this side as well. So if you notice a difference in sanding, look at this side. Sanded with the 40 grit, this side not sanded. Side here is already sanded, look at that, beautiful. Now look how ugly this side here is. This is gonna go on here, and obviously that does not look nice. I grab this, grab this, clamp this one onto here. So far we've got the bottom looking nice and the top looking disgusting. Okay, so this is starting to look much sexier. The back nice and sanded and the front nice and sanded. We're gonna get the Orbital sander and make it even better. I used the 40 grit on the Orbital sander, then the 120 grit, then the 240, and I finished it up with the 400 grit. And here we are. Look at that. And this is the second seat. Quickly turn that one into a beautiful curved piece.
Now beeswax.
And I cut a bit of this jumper. I did this first coat of varnish on this first stool seat, and because of this it became less smooth. So afterwards I ran the 400 grit, 800 grit, 1200, 1500 grit over it, but I did that off camera. The stool seat was done, so I had to transform the legs via the sander. And let me tell you something about sanding stool legs, it's the worst, because there's like 55 different sides that you gotta sand down. And not only that, there's all these tight spots, you gotta do it multiple times with the 40, 120, 240 and the 400 sander. So it's the most time-consuming part of the whole process. Plus, I had 2 stool legs to do. But no complaining, got through it, and this is what it looked like. So I'm just gonna finish this up with the 120 grit, 240 grit, and the 400 grit. Let's skip to that part. Whoops, not that part, this part. Would you look at that? Varnished and ready to go. Now all I'm going to do is pop the top on. Let's pop it on. Glue, screws, let's get into it. it's the morning. Time to take the clamps off.
You're gonna need 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 screws.
Before I finish, I'm gonna sand the top and then beeswax it again.
Right, so thanks for making it to the end of the video. I reckon chuck me a subscribe, a like, a comment, anything. Yeah, a lot more projects coming out. I'm pretty happy with these. I'm gonna start making some more sales, and that means buying some more tools. And that also means I'm gonna get my CNC machine, spend some money on a better camera, and videos gonna start being a lot cooler. And also, the projects I'm making are gonna be a lot better. Thanks for watching the video, and see you in the next one.